Hoy, hoy.
All right. As I root my headphone cable out.
I do that a lot in of me
uh,
stuff.
oh, is the camera mirrored? Did I do
Yeah,
that?
it's been mirrored the whole time, but I kind of like it.
Whoops. There we go.
Yeah, wow.
Sweet. Uh, DEFCON backwards is knock fed. No. Anyway, welcome to What the Heck. We have Speed Racer today. We have so much to talk about. It's just been pretty much nonstop new gear stuff for like the last 3 weeks. I feel like 2 weeks. I don't know. Anyway, let's do intros. Who are you and what did I write? What is one thing you are definitely getting from Super Booth?
Ooh, well, I'm Jason. I call myself Speed Racer because I race large drones, and I'm just a guy. This is important. But the thing I'd like from Super Boost, I think, is just like on the quick and dirty at Fresno too, because they have one. Of course they do.
Hmm.
There's a lot of stuff out there, but I have other things that are in the way, and I don't know. It was such a bounty, and I think when you look at the spread, right? Like for instance, well, I don't want to throw every cat out of the bag immediately, but if you read the fine print on the Spectrophone, right? They've obviously solved a chip problem for themselves, right? And a platforming problem, which means they can do other things. But not only that, it means the Spectrophone will be around for a long time, right? So I'm not too worried about having one of those, for instance. It's an
Yeah,
intriguing for sure.
yeah. I don't have feel any particular rush this year on really any of the things. Yeah, chat. What do you want to get from there? Uh, I mean, the thing there's three things that are on my hit list. FX Boy is definitely up there, but I haven't heard any real like line out samples of the different cartridges and things. Right? I've heard some demos, but they're like kind of okay. So that one's like okay, I'll wait, no rush. Second one is Spectrophone. Like I think it is really cool, but also I'm in no rush on that one because that one's probably means I'm removing enough of my case where it will make me cry, and I don't think I can do that. And the third one that I'm definitely going to get as an upgrade, I'm pretty sure. I need to look at the manual, and that's not out yet. Is the Bafaco MIDI thing too? Because I love MIDI,
Oh,
and it's 12 configurable outs in a slightly smaller package than the Mutant Brain. And if I can do that, I'll be happy.
isn't the original
Conf-
one designed around the bigger dins?
Yes, it was, and this one's actually designed with the smaller, I believe,
TRS.
TRS inputs, and I think it has
Nice.
through, but it's been a second since I looked at it. Hot second, but let's see. Switch. I've already mocked up a couple cases with it, just to see how it impacts stuff. Yeah, so it's a MIDI in and a MIDI out. I'm not sure if that means MIDI through. If it's MIDI through, that seals the deal because it means I can plug one into the other. I typically have two MIDI to CV devices in my tiny Cosmo because it's a big enough case and I have drums, so you kind of need that many outputs. But it'll mean one less cable that I have to run from the Hapax or something. So it's like one less step for me to like deal with during setup, moving my cases around. So yeah, let's yeah, DJ MJR is saying they're guessing the FX Boy is going to sound kind of okay, and I almost I don't want to think that, but I feel like if you've got a lot of modules coming out, I don't like a lot of cartridges. I don't know how much time the manufacturer is going to invest making those. On a couple of them, like they'd already had essentially that product in a different format for a module, so it was probably like trivial to, or trivial being they don't have to do a ton of R&D on the circuit, but trivial to migrate it to a different format. But I just don't know yet, so
Well,
it's
there
hard
was some
to.
other. I feel like there was a different module that came out, and now I'm forgetting it. That someone's major complaint. Well, as long as they make it open source, right? I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like same thing, right? Like as long as those modules can continue to be made by anybody, you've got a platform kind of
I
thing.
mean, that feels like a really easy one to, maybe not necessarily open source, but there's really good measurements available to make Game Boy cartridge PCBs out there already, and all you really need is the pinout, and Bufako is essentially providing that, and like strip board version of it. So like if they, I would suspect at some point they go open source, but like enough of it is available for anyone to make. Yeah, it's just a really weird format. Like I just love the idea of like, silence because I've got it, the knob on full wet and the signal's not passing through, like holding a cartridge up in the air, like jamming it in, you get like a distorted lead or something, like some ridiculous intro like that seems stuck in my head.
The drop is the cartridge going
Seriously, right?
backwards,
Like,
and you miss. Oh, hit
yeah.
the tuning knob instead. Some
um,
fan bumps you and it flies out of your hand. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, Jay Blanco, like catching up on previous year's modules is totally cool. There's a bunch of those on my list. Like, I feel like so many cool things came out last year, including like Stolper beats and a bunch of Apollo View modules. Actually, I think some of those are this year too. But like, just there's just loads of cool stuff out now.
it's
Um,
true. And something that you know, was announced at the last Super Boost still isn't out, which is the Soma Terra.
I'm
Um,
sorry, what was that?
the Soma Terra,
Oh, the Terra, yeah.
the giant log.
Yeah, let's talk about that
Oh,
in
dude,
just a
I
second.
have now. That's something I am juicy for.
I think a
Um,
lot of people are. I just want to talk to chat real quick. Voltage. Egon's talking about voltage block, talking about it being fun because it's performancy, and I fully agree. Like, it's just the dumbest thing to like play live a single slider to affect a thing, but it's really satisfying and really easy to manipulate. Like, it's just a great little sequencer.
voltage
Yeah.
block,
Yeah.
monkey
Unstoppable
bass,
little thing.
voltage block.
Yeah. All right. Doterra. I believe a few folks saw that in, was it at NOM or something NOM related? Like they saw it a few weeks ago. I think it was Iggs and
Well, Bartok didn't he?
Bartok.
He helped booth for Soma, I think, didn't he?
I don't
I
know. I don't know the details on that.
I feel like I saw on Instagram of him, on the other side of the Soma booth.
I know he's really into Soma because, well, they make
Oh, I know
probably
he
the
has a
most
Terra, right?
interesting. No, no, he has
Or
the
not a Terra.
Pulsar.
Was it say Lyra 8? Sorry,
He
just
has,
had
he
a
has the Pulsar.
ah.
Green edition, special edition with the sick case. Like the messenger bag alone is probably worth the price you paid.
I've heard the
Pretty
bag on those is actually pretty cool.
is pretty cool. Yeah, he brought that to DEF CON last year, and I had the joy of getting to try it out a bit.
And
On our
he's
definitely,
did he
yeah,
have his beefy cables for that at the time, or
yes, yeah,
yeah? Because I think that's the fix for
yeah.
takes some of
They're
the wonky out of it.
yeah they're much nicer and very reliable. Yeah, that was a huge upgrade, I think. But the Terra is, or I was just going to say, I think Soma is doing some of the more interesting instruments in a long time, just because um, they're thinking of them more like instruments that you play instead of like a sequenced instrument or like a piece of an instrument or a rethink of things that already have been done. Like they're
Yep.
all very weird. The Soma feels like a culmination of ideas that just worked out really well and is super fun. Like everyone I've talked to, Antone played it and was like beyond the moon over it, like, which is huge. So I went from being completely disinterested in that instrument to, okay, maybe there's a lot to this that I just didn't anticipate, you know.
Mm.
Anyway.
It's I have to say it's. I think we've covered on previous podcasts, right? Or podcasts. What the hell are we doing? We're streaming something, right? Uh,
Yeah, we're on a show. I think it's
we're
technically a
blabbing.
podcast now.
It's a casting thing, right? What
Yeah.
this thing we're talking about. Anyway, that that I'm a junkie for complete instruments, right?
Yeah.
Standalone things that are don't need much else to have fun with, uh, and a lot of what they make fits in that category, right? You don't you don't need any friends. You can just have that one Soma box, uh, and it really goes through it. Like I have somewhere over there a Rumble Times, which is one of their killer gateway drugs,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and that thing's so much fun. And there's
Yeah.
nothing like it as far as I know, uh, and it's way simpler than you might think to get engaged with, right? Like and I've explained it to other people, like, here, try this, and they're like, well, how does it work? And you're just like, here, I'll show you. Do 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 do. Like, oh, and suddenly something new happens. So
Yeah.
yeah, Soma's plugged into the force, I think.
Yeah. Um, just to answer a question in chat, yeah. Well, speed, Jason, your microphone is cutting in and out just a little bit.
Oh, is it? That's annoying.
Yeah. But to me, it sounds like an internet thing. So,
Oh, that could be.
yeah.
Which would be strange, though. I have not complete suck internet, but sometimes it's completely beyond the pole, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. No worries.
Bad
I
night
can.
for
I can.
Michigan.
um, yeah, I guess so. What was I going to say? Yeah, Soma's fantastic. I feel like their instruments are all very exploratory, but some of them are like designed for you to play for yourself. And yeah, you can do some performance on them, but like it takes a minute to sort of like do the things. I think like the Lyra 8 and some of the other synth type things tend to be that way, whereas the um, gosh, why can't I think of the name of it? We were literally just talking about the wooden one.
The
the
Terra.
the Terra, yeah. The
Yeah.
I think the Terra is different in that pretty much anybody, even with like a loose sense of rhythm, can probably perform that in front of people and have a really good time, be very expressive. Um, very cool instrument in that sense.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk modules a little bit. There's been a trickle of module videos coming out that I hadn't seen until like kind of after Super Booth, I guess. Um, yeah, Anton was saying Terra is the most performable synth he's ever used. Yeah, I would agree with that. Watching
Interesting.
people play it, yeah, I mean that's a huge compliment. Um, and it's now on my list. I wish I could get it in like a slightly different shape or something, but whatever.
Well,
It's
they
probably
are. I
awesome.
mean, wood wise, they're all going to be slightly different, right? So
Yeah.
no two people are really going to have the same one.
You know what I need to do is get one. Maybe I'll like message him ahead of time and be like, "Hey, do not stain it. Don't even worry about sanding it, because I'm gonna paint it like the
Flat
Pokemon
black.
Ditto. No, Ditto pink. I think throw some eyeballs on it. I just can't not see that every time I look at it.
Really?
Um, yeah,
I don't know. Ever
but
since the first one, I just see it as a log, and it's the playable log.
it's the playable log. Yeah, yeah. That's kind of funny too. Um,
Yeah, like Ren and Stimpy style, right?
yeah,
Log,
yeah,
log.
yeah. All right, library history. I just wanted to look at some of the things that have come out um, that that
Well,
that are
there's the
more recent.
WMD amped announcement, right?
Yeah, I mean, I again very excited about that. I actually heard a demo since I think since last week. I heard the demo about their on their hi hat module or a couple demos on it, and that thing is going to be sick. Calling it a hi hat module is sort of an understatement. It's almost like sort of weird sampler that you could mix in with a like a 909 hat uh, to get various
Hi-hats
levels
is
of
one of the
weird.
things it does,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
but but the thing I'm excited about with them, like this is the case with every one of their drum modules, is that they're very easy to use and there's nothing but sweet spots, so you don't have to like finesse it. Like you can just get to the thing you want it to sound like and move on. There's yeah, it's so good. um History, see all. Oh,
Did Struo drop new stuff? I'm trying to just
they
play my memory back. I
they
haven't seen
did.
that
They had
recently.
dropped like I think one is a sample and hold, the queer or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
a smaller version of the
Hmm.
original tag with a couple new functions thrown in it. Right, so it's
Yeah, I
not
was.
just a sample and hold.
Yes, yes, correct. Um, correct. Like, I don't know, chat. Is there anything you want us to talk about or discuss or get opinions on? Let's leave that open for a bit. But like that one, it's hard for me to get excited about utility modules until I'm actually composing like a case, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
somebody earlier today had like asked me about like, oh, want to see like the latest progress on like a hypothetical travel case I started just on my free time, just on Modular Grid. And like I thought about it some more, and that was a no brainer to put in there because it's just a brilliant module in a compact package. Yeah, and come on, 4 HP. How can you not? Malts, yeah.
I'm
I have
always
so many
fascinated
malts.
by compactness, right? What's the line that DivKid just featured, right? As uh, the video came out right before Superbooth. Is it Vostok
Yeah,
or something?
I
Yeah.
don't
So
know.
what impressed me is that each one has a ton of shit in a small amount of space, right? Like six VCA, whatever, tiny.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I just want to look those up real quick. There was I think three of them. Anyway, yeah, Dev Kids got on his channel, but those were also really good, interesting modules. Like one was quad. I want to say it was a quad oscillator, but each oscillator is a fixed waveform output, which was kind of an interesting way to do it. It had lots of interesting options. Um,
RYK has that sequential filter that's kind of wacky looking.
the Night
I haven't
Rider.
heard it much, but yeah, the Knight Rider, yeah.
Yeah, that is, in my opinion, the second coolest module as far as looks go, released this year. Coolest being the Bafako FX boy because I'm biased, but yeah, that one looks sick. But I also need to hear more demos on it. I haven't heard much because I think the Rick person was only there for one day.
Oh, is that so?
Um,
So it's a word, Rick.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's an acronym or a word because it's honestly a manufacturer I haven't looked into all
I
that
have
much.
their wavetable synth. It's a cool. I did it DIY. It's a very fun module, but it's digital. You know, it's wavetable. So,
Yeah.
but what was I going to say? Damn it! I was just thinking of one and now I forgot about it. Well, adding the Oberheim module. That's exciting.
Oh, the desktop module. I I'm less excited about it. I mean, it's a
I got worried
fantastic
about
synthesizer.
keyboards, right?
Yeah, I mean
And
that's
nothing
the
makes
thing.
those noises.
It's a fantastic synth. There's hands down nothing quite like it. And the fact that they came out with a desktop module, I am super appreciative about. Like, I really don't want things with keys attached outside of like my mythical 88 key micro freak with the touch plates. uh, anything else desktop module because like you don't who needs that many keyboards but I wasn't super excited about that because it kind of got overshadowed in my mind by the Udo Super Gemini or something like that, the mega binaural by whatever
Binaural.
binaural, yeah,
Binaural.
that's it, binaural synth it because, and only because of looks. So the Udo Super 6 super, yeah, I think that's right. um it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in person. Like, I saw it when I was visiting Signal Sounds last year, and it's one of those things that looks like a video game render when you're looking right at it and using it. Like, it doesn't make sense. It looks like someone cut like a few polygons out of it or something. Like, it just looks fake.
Right.
And
I'm not familiar with it, so I have to check it out for sure.
definitely check it out and check out the Super Gemini. That one's also pretty incredible. Like, great aesthetics and great synth. But it's like essentially like that, but they've made a flagship sort of synth out of it that can do quite a lot of interesting stuff.
This is a golden era, man. When I was last a keyboard player, there were, five companies. You know what I mean? That were the the big name, and then another five that were you know, around them. And
You
that's
just cut
all.
out for like 10 seconds.
Really?
Sorry.
That
Yeah.
sucks. Sorry. Um, I was saying that the market, used to only support 10 synth companies, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
back in the 80s when synths were huge,
Yeah.
right?
Um, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it's either a browser or a setting. So check, if you go into
I
settings,
checked the
check
settings, but I'll check more.
like turn off noise canceling or something. I don't know. Um, but, uh, but I agree with you. Like, we live in a time where the ability to
We'll see if
manufacture
that
these
helps.
things is easier.
Is that any
I
better?
hope so. It's hard to know because it's sort of sometimes it's really good and sometimes it's not. We'll see. Um, but Enthusiastic Electrons wants to hear a little bit more about performative modules, like talking about a joystick being used by Antone the other day, things like that. What's up, Requiem? And I think that's something that I am very fascinated with. Like, I will buy a module if or build a module if I think there's uh, a novel performance aspect to it. Like the Theremin module, like, is objectively a janky module to use because it's sort of like this inexpensive antenna
The
that,
dope for one?
yeah, it's okay. but it's really
I have
fun
one
from a
right there.
performance. Yeah, it's one of my favorite modules. Like I bolted a door stopper onto an ears basically to use that as a CV source. Like when I whacked that at Mangle samples, like stuff like
Mm.
that. Um, I just can't get enough of. I think they're really fun to do, and if they're functional, like the Theremin one is very functional, too functional. That I think they're worth making space in your case for. I guess is what I'm saying. Like the
Oh,
joystick
speaking
modules
of
are great.
that,
Yeah.
again, I'm losing the name of the company, but there's a new module called. Now I'm forgetting the name of the module, but it's basically similar to a theremin recorder. It had two sensors on it.
Yeah, it
What
was
was that? The Thera something,
yeah.
and it's
Why
maybe 10, 8 or 10 wide.
was it
Uh,
Beep Boop? I don't remember the manufacturer, but we can look that up later. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was a touch strip, right? Sort of a one U touch strip kind of a thing.
no, no, no. This one, they might have done both, right? But the first one I saw was a full size module.
Mm, okay. But my point is these modules I think are often better than, especially in Euro rack, better than the knobs that come on the module. Not because the knobs can't do the same thing with the same amount of fidelity, but because if you're doing a performance and you're hunched over a mysterious case and you're like doing this and doing a big filter sweep, like you can't really see what's happening from the audience. But if you like go in and like do one of these or like move a joystick around or something, people can
Hmm.
correlate like motion with a sound change. And that's where I think is it can be really fun, or like even just like on my
It's what makes
envelope.
ribbon controllers neat, right? Is being able to dive bomb.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, you could dive bomb really nicely on some of these things. Like that's a really cool way to do it, right? Like with the Ruben controller. Um, I was gonna say even earlier, like something as dumb as like an ADSR, right? Like an envelope. Why would anyone need to trigger it manually, or why would anybody need to flip it on manually? Well, like that's how I started the last intro here. Like it's just flip it on and let it go. Um, I could even start a sequence and you wouldn't know it until I turn it down and you have like, 16th notes or stuff. Like there's very performative actions you can do that
That
are,
reminded me to loop back on the voltage block. Someone mentioned
yeah,
earlier, right? Like that's one of the things that makes it kick ass is that it's performative, right? It,
yeah,
it captures something, a squiggle that you want. Uh,
yeah. And it's also why, like, in my opinion, it's if you're performing live at a venue, I do like seeing the crowd, but I also want the crowd to see my synth, like I want them to see that what I'm doing, and mine is the luxury of being vertical, so I can like you know do stuff and turn around. But um, the whole time I'm thinking about performance because it's fun for me to watch people who play this kind of stuff, and I want hopefully it to be fun to watch. Like when is he going to hit that rotary phone in the middle of his synth kind of thing. Like people are always like blown away. Like when like halfway through this, like I don't do it very often. When I like actually do it and they hear the stutter, they're like, "What?"
yeah,
Like yeah,
save
everything's
it,
hooked up.
save it for
Yeah,
flavor.
yeah. I mean I think it's really important. A rotating case. I mean, a rotating stage or rotating case. Those are some options. I've seen since synth performers have this crazy like keyboard stand that like you can move around while you're playing and like tilt it forward so the audience can see you do the
Yeah.
solo and stuff like that.
So I'm a huge observer of those kind of things. Although I can't remember. I feel like Jordan Rudess is one of the first people who had one where he was making sure that the audience could see him perform, right? And then the second version of that was one that could tilt, right?
Yeah,
Where you could
yeah,
really see the thing. And whoever built that for him built more than one because there's another guy out there who uses that to just tilt the thing all over the place violently. It's pretty crazy, right? And it's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
basically on a loose clutch, right? So
Yeah.
what he's doing is hitting the clutch and it's loose, and then letting go, and the clutch just grabs it, right? So
Yeah.
it'll just go clutch, clutch.
It's so
It's a
sketchy looking when
crazy
you see it
machine.
played. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess the point is like the
He's never
disadvantage
seen
for
Tommy Lee's roller coaster drum thing fail videos,
oh
right?
yeah, yeah. Uh yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
mean
didn't last.
like a lot of synths and modular performances I think suffer from like lack of visibility to what you're doing with the instrument. Like it is cool for the first part of the video, like the Helen what's Helena Vogel, what am I misremembering? Something. Vogel singer. Her videos, there's like a camera panning around her the whole time, so you can actually see the synth a little bit. But like in the beginning, a lot of those videos, like all you see is like a person sitting in front of like a server, like just a bunch of wires in front of their face, and they're
Mm-hmm.
reaching into the wires, and that's it. Like that's hard versus like a guitar is an instrument that faces away from the person that's playing it. I think that's part of why it's such a like
It's easier to
performative
throw
instrument.
shapes. It's
Yeah.
easier to throw shapes with just about anything but a keyboard,
Yeah.
right? Like anybody in the horn section can do a better job than you.
Yeah.
It's and like I said, I feel like it's one of the things that I've studied a bit, and I still always go back to Keith Emerson, right? Like no one's ever going to top him, I don't think, right? Because he was hurling a Hammond around, right? And I don't think it was actually Hammond in those early days, but it was still that style of console organ, right? The same one that he's jammed knives into, uh, right? He was all about performance
Yeah.
on top of there was a performance of, hey, look at me whip it out, I'm going to play something really complicated, but then also while I'm throwing this Hammond all over the place,
Right.
right?
Like Enthusiastic Electrons is saying like he'd get on a stage and like strap himself to a concert piano that's spinning around and like flip over. Like can you imagine being under a
Well,
concert piano ever?
think about that. So that's an interesting. So I mentioned Tommy Lee earlier, and that also, right? If you think about all rock and roll stunt stuff, right?
Yeah.
You are stuck as soon as you pull a big stunt. Like, if you light yourself on fire, next time you have to blow yourself up, right? Like the audience,
You have to
in order
escalate.
to, each performance has to be more. So for Keith, he started throwing that Hammond around, and in order to keep that audience going, wow, he had to strap into that piano and get flipped upside down, right? You get what I'm saying, right? And the same thing with Tommy Lee, right? Like in
Yeah.
order to keep people seeing him play, he had to jump on a roller coaster and play at the same time. Right? It wasn't actually
Um,
a roller coaster, but it was that kind of framework. It moved slowly, but sometimes it didn't move.
yeah. I mean that's awesome. Like I think modular is a cool thing because you can sort of add your performative thing, right? Like enthusiastic electrons again saying Keith Emerson would jam daggers into his Hammond to hold down the note, right? Like,
Yep.
why don't we have a module that allows that? Like
You
patch with
just
some
need an old wooden
daggers,
keyboard. Look,
like
mom.
stuff like
Look,
that.
look, mom. An old computer can hook you up.
Oh yeah. Just have to ship it.
So that's what you need is a big wooden console style thing. Just start jamming knives in that crazy
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I am like a lot of the stuff. The next. I'm really happy where I'm at from a sound perspective. Like, I think I have the sounds I want for now. Uh, but thinking about
thing. It's
performance or
funny you
like,
say that. You remember a couple days ago, the question of the day in one of our mutual discords was something
Yeah.
about, what's the next thing you want to master or something like that? And I'm like, I haven't even mastered the last thing. Like, uh, yeah, what's the next thing you want to master that you don't know how to do? And I'm like, I didn't know how to master the last thing I didn't know how to do. Right? Like I'm still working through the list, right? But I've hit that lull of I can't think of too many modules I want to buy. Right? I feel like everything that's in there are things that I want for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? And you
Yeah.
mentioned the spectrophone earlier,
Yeah.
right? You're at a situation where it's like, well, 34 HP, what goes? Well, nothing that I can think of easily, right? Like it's
Nope, that's
like
another
thrown out of the
case.
80.
It's not going in there because like the case over there I designed with purpose, and
I've been thinking about a
Spectrophone
Nifty
doesn't match
Keys. I
that.
don't have one of those yet,
They're
right?
rad.
Like
They're
the
really well
keyboard that
built.
you can swap
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Um, just backing up a sec. First of all, enthusiastic electron saying he wants to make magic smoke module, which is like the big honking button, only it explodes. I have been thinking about this since you first mentioned it. And in fact, earlier today, I was looking up small smoke machines because I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to stuff a smoke machine into one of my Cosmo cases, hit the button, and have smoke shoot out of it. Um, anyway, that's just a thought.
Well, I mean, if you really want rock and roll smoke, though, just get a smoke machine. They're like $2.
Yeah, they're so cheap.
Yeah,
Um,
they're everywhere,
but yeah,
and
thinking
they
about
are. I mean,
performance,
one machine and that oily stuff that they use to make smoke. You are absolutely kiss.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
What's
that's what I
more
want.
important than the smoke are the lasers, quite frankly, right?
I've looked into laser machines. Those are expensive. Well, the ones that do what I want, which is essentially be an oscilloscope.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, thinking about like performance or like what do I want folks to see the next time I do an in-person thing? So I've got these Morse code keys that I've ordered that I was lucky enough to
Oh
get a
yeah,
few
I
extra
remember.
because they toss us in.
Nice.
I feel
And
like
what are
that's
you
a
gonna do
big
with those?
thing. That's a big thing. Well, you see, let's see, how do I the case, the base right here,
Mm-hmm.
with the speakers on it.
Pedals? Do I see?
No, it's just speakers on the big wooden base,
Yeah,
right? And
speakers
inside of there
on
is
the angle.
yeah. So what I'm going to do is make a second one of those for the case over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking of having those Morse code keys on a good portion of it, and an inset uh, CRT with
Ah,
as a XY
more
oscilloscope.
oscilloscopes.
Yeah, because
Nice.
that one I can take with me. This one, well, it's directly behind me. This one doesn't go anywhere. It's very sensitive.
Mm.
So I figure
It's
like a
old.
cheap TV.
Is it
Yeah,
one of those old phosphor tubes?
it's old. It's not ancient, but it's old enough where I'm not gonna fuss with it. Um,
Yeah.
I had to do brain surgery on it once, and I don't want to do that
Spare
again.
parts for old oscilloscopes are not easy to find.
So I'm gonna do two things with potentially three, but I'm gonna start with I think two. One is essentially I don't know, five, maybe eight, between 5 to 8 of them on the case, like on the outside, bolted on, and each one will have a gate output. So when I hit it, connect it, you know, gate, but also have a voltage output that I'll have a potentiometer for. So I can use it for pitch things if I want to, or I can set them to trigger things like a big honking
Dude, if
button.
one isn't hooked up making the Morse code,
That's
that it
that's the
that like
thing. It'd be trivial to do that because I already have a module that sounds like the sound that you get with Morse code. So it'd just be like
nice.
bloop bloop done, right? It would be easy.
Oh,
Um,
speaking of which, and looping back on Superbooth a bit, I mean, I think Soma showed it off before, but that it's the Pulsar add-on. Have you seen that? That has some. They're not Morse code exactly, but they're metal contact strips that, that are on there that are pretty beefy that get the same kind
Yeah.
of performance aspect as
Yes.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little obsessed with Morse code keys. Like I have the Third Man
Oh,
Records
they're
triple
cool.
RAF. Yeah, those are cool. Set up. In fact, I spent like the last 2 weeks in my free time like reorganizing everything so that like you can see I made a pedal board out of my IKEA stand, so they're all velcroed on there all nicely and everything.
Nice.
Yeah, not sliding around and tripping me all the time. Like I got into a habit of whipping my cable while I'm performing, and that's just
Mm-hmm.
so things don't hook on the guitar pedals. Um,
Just
because there's
habit,
otherwise it just
performance
yanks out
habit.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah. Then
yeah,
suddenly the cord's gone and it's black, so
yep.
you can't see it in the dark room.
Yeah, um, yeah.
Oh, also looping back to modules. Let's see. Do you see Zlob has an expander now? It's a secondary module that lets you put two of those filter banks next to each other.
Yes, it's an expander for this. This is
Yes.
still not shipped back. Yes,
It wasn't meant to be a reminder, but
I
uh,
know it wasn't.
I
I
thought
just
that
have
was
this ready to
exciting
go.
because at the time when I built it, right, like there's that strip in the middle. You're installing it for expander. It says expander on the board, and there is not a
Yeah,
word of it on
yeah,
uh, the website, right? So it was exciting to see that pop up. Um, Also, speaking of expanders, I need to go back and look at the XOR website, but I think he finally came out with his I2C expander for the NerdSeek stuff. So that's kind of
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Um, so there, I mean, there's stuff out there. I'm kind of engaged in For You at the moment. For You in that stupid Terra, right?
The Terra looks pretty cool. That one's gonna be like an object of desire for a long time, I think. Um, because it sounds great. It's super fun. Looks cool. Like it checks all the boxes.
So I'm telling you
Um,
right now, I'm going straight for that voice patch that they have, that Russian male choir voice patch that they have.
yeah,
That is so cool.
it sounds really
That's
good.
all I'm going to do for a month, and I'll be
Uh,
sick of it.
I'm.
I'll
I
be
mean,
like, oh, I can't get anything out of it.
I am looking forward to some new Cosmo modules. Talking about non Super Boost stuff for like 2 seconds. There's two Cosmo
So
modules.
what's he got coming?
He's got two things on the way. They're not out yet, but one is uh, MIDI to drum module. So not drum, but like it's MIDI to trigger. So it's like 16
Right.
outputs. Like, come
Oh
on,
wow.
sick,
Is
right?
this?
Like,
I mean, this has to be a carry on from the church organ crap.
no, it's something he's been talking. Like, I think he's built a crappy version of it a long time ago. Like, typically, he
Oh.
has most of these modules built uh, and they're falling apart. And then when it's like just hairy enough where he can't perform anymore, it's time to make it into a nice module that's not on strip board. So I think that's one of those. Um, and then the second one I've had just like I mean, when we're talking about this, that's what reminded me that when we're talking about the Zlob filter bank,
Mhm.
um, the oscillators, which are some of the first modules I built of his, have an expansion port on the back. Silence
With
about it.
no
Radio
expansion.
silence. Nothing. No answers to questions. But there's an expander coming out, and I think it's really cool because it can hook up to I think 3 and maybe 4 oscillators. The expander can, so you can hook it up to a bunch of them, right?
So
And
it
then
makes a complement.
the controls on there all impact all of them. So like it's got an input for PWM, so you can do that, and all the oscillators are affected by that
Oh,
PWM signal.
neat.
Like
So they
things
kind of
like that.
normal their and do a little bit of normalization and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think there's PWM, slew, like an internal LFO, so you can get some vibrato across your oscillators without a complex patch, which is currently what I'm doing. Like with an LFO, is like, yeah. So things like that, I'm very much looking forward to because it like hugely improves the quality of life. But it would be the first time my case has been rearranged in maybe like a year and a half, maybe two. I'm not sure.
How are those
Uh,
circuit boards? The
they're
Cosmos circuit boards.
what do you mean? Like they're
What
hold on.
how are those builds? And because I know some of them are, you know, he has a lot of flying parts too, like those resistor crowns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't have
He likes his
any.
rotary switches.
Yeah, I just have two examples, and neither one is a look on the computer example. But his tend to be like this one, where it's pretty much what you would expect from a Euro rack build, but the components are a little more spaced out, all through hole.
Hmm.
Pretty easy to put together. There might be stacked PCBs like this, but typically it's like one or two levels. And his are usually very spaced out because they're geared towards performance. And I he's not concerned about space. He's like, how do I make this so that people can tell when I'm doing a thing? So that's why the performance filter, which is an MS-20 sort of clone, the
Hmm.
Renee Schmitz version, is like it's 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters for a knob, right? But it's big
Right.
enough where you can like I can reach across the room and do the thing, and you can like see it versus like
Right.
And then there's the other builders sometimes come out with modules where like building them looks like this, which is less fun. I don't even know if you can see like some of those resistor crowns in there I've made,
Yeah.
like around like that bit. Like this was a nightmare level build.
Yeah.
um,
No, flying wires aren't that much fun.
yeah. The wiring takes the longest. So like I am even if there's like six jacks that I need to wire to, I would be much I'm always much more stoked if it's like 20 jacks on a PCB because then I can just versus like cutting wires, measuring lengths, trimming, soldering. Like it's a whole thing.
Oh, believe me, dude, I just did banana jacks. Uh,
those are those are just one wire though, right? Like that's nice, huh?
yeah, and there's a lot of ways to terminate them. I'm a little OCD on those things, so I took the long, beautifully clean way. But
Okay.
it's one of those things where you're like, I can see why these are expensive, right? Like they're
Yeah.
just labor
Yeah.
intensive, right?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, I built a MARF, if you the multiple arbitrary function generator, and
Yeah.
that's a silly build in the first place, right? Like it wasn't meant to be easy.
Yes.
So I got what I paid for there.
I mean, I think the builds are really fun. And most of the time, even with complex, time-consuming builds, I have a good time. The exception,
Same.
this one's kind of a sore spot because I'm not super into quantizers, but it's also was. I think I was maybe the first person to build it outside of the original builder, and there was a lot of like schematic deep diving because it was split up into multiple schematics and things like that. So it took a minute.
Those are the most interesting ones, the ones that are completely unlabeled. Yeah, I've done a
I
couple of
just
those.
I just like ones that come with a bill of materials and are like because then it's like paint by numbers. It's like okay, this capacitor goes to C12. For C12.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep. No,
Boop
the
boop.
most beautiful one. What did I call it? Oh, the MARF kit was like that, right? It's soldering by numbers. You know, you just follow the
Yeah.
guide, and like you said, C1. Oh,
Yeah, enthusiastic electrons talking about a Cosmos sized CV control panel. Look up I forget the name of it, but it's like a mega Cosmo maths. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna look it up and share it because it's ridiculous. Look, computer.com slash projects. And I'm just scroll because I don't remember.
And it's a giant function generator.
You'll see.
You'll
It's
see.
essentially a handful of LFOs that can be one shots and stuff like that. Like there's a whole range of things it can do. Where are you, buddy? Why do I have to scroll this far? Must have
Your
passed it.
inventory of links is failing us.
Uh, yeah, quad LFO. There we go. Is that it? I think that's it. Share screen. Uh, Look at this ridiculous monster. Let's see. Let's find where's the front panel.
OMG. I love his faceplate art.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Giving
Let's
Tony
just.
Rolando a run for his money there with hieroglyph.
I mean, come on. Look at that monster of an LFO. It's got sync. It's got all sorts of stuff. Tons of shapes per
Yeah.
one. It's ridiculous. All mixed together. Levels per. Not quite the mass thing, but still pretty ridiculous. Yeah, yeah. Bigger steering wheels and ship throttle controls. Yeah, see, that's something I am interested in is some throttles. I feel like there's not enough throttles in modular. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like or the Frankenstein lever, the
Oh,
knife
a
edge
knife switch.
switch or something.
Actually, you know
Yeah.
what? You know what I thought of when you said that though is what you need. What you need is like a lever, like a train lever switch. You know.
Yeah. 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 Just like like a 20-pound base or something so it doesn't go anywhere and just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta. That's the biggest problem you have with it. Really, is that it suck to move around.
what
But
is it? Like 8-foot rod attached to a potentiometer that controls a cutoff filter.
it's a knife switch. It just functions it. Or yeah, that would be funny if it was just the whole
Yeah.
time. It's wiping a resistor.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That would be an engineering challenge to design it so that it doesn't destroy the potentiometer.
Yeah, yeah. No, you'd be back to those Keith Emerson days, right? Where one of your roadies, like his main job, was soldering that thing back together after the show for the next show, right?
that's
Like,
that's no joke. I travel. I got a portable soldering iron, which is currently my main soldering iron because my main soldering iron crapped out for some reason. I have to order a new part for it. Um, but I have a portable one just for that purpose. I carry that and a handful of screwdrivers um, and sockets in case I need to fix something. I just dropped the tiniest screwdriver in the world.
good fortune favors the well prepared.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is I know how some of those modules were built, and uh, the credit goes to me as to yeah how much to hold up. All right, well, oh, there it is. Cool.
I still think, like, also in that same mutual discord, if you could only have analog or digital, I chose analog because I still think in the world of performance, right? Like knowing that, well, power's been on for an hour now, uh, it's starting to detune, right? Uh, knowing those things about an instrument, that's what makes it an instrument,
Yeah,
right? Is that uh, it may not be that easy to play. I imagine that those tweaky, expensive violins are like that, right? Like you too humid or something like that, and the people that own them get all sweaty,
well,
right?
I always get precious about certain instruments at a certain level of quality. Like I want to keep them as nice as possible. And then I realize, what am I doing? Like I have a guitar in a case with a little humidity pack in there because I live in a very dry place. And now I'm sort of thinking I should just leave it out, let it acclimate, get a little warped, let the frets get stabby, and then clean up after that. Then I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't know.
Well, I mean, with physical instruments, and you know, again, it's kind of like uh, having your guy on tour fixing your old synth, right? Like, you can take it to a person with skill, and you know, let's say you've just let it really go to seed, they can refret it and straighten it back out and stuff like that. And you know, even some of the oldest keyboards are still repairable, right?
I mean, that's a really big topic that I don't think we're going to cover today, but I really appreciate things that are repairable. So like when
Yeah,
we're
me same.
talking this module, it's powered by an Arduino, right? Right now
Hmm.
it's repairable because I could just go buy another Arduino. Like if something on this component fails, I've got to replace it. I
And
have
it's a
no
cheap
chance of,
replacement, right? Like it doesn't hurt.
but when these stop being made, like if
Those are
like
going to
a
go away
capacitor or
one day.
something in there fails, I don't even know what's in there, but like something like that, right? Like a resistor or whatever fails, like odds of me being able to adequately debug and fix that go way down once it stops being through hole stuff.
Hmm.
Whereas most of the time with the through hole type modules that I make, there's so
Oh,
few
like an old analog
components.
filter or oscillator that's
Well,
just all basically
like
circuitry.
like even this, like it's made in a way that like you know when something's not working. Like some of the banks might work, and you go, okay, well let's figure out which card it is, and you can
Yeah,
debug it from
yeah,
there, right? Like
yep.
you can get in there and fix it up, no problem. And start like if even if you don't know where to start, like even if you don't feel like measuring, you can just go grab a bunch of capacitors, start there because like it's either capacitors or some ICs typically.
Yeah, no, those
Um,
chips change everything, right? Like
yeah,
DSPs are just processors running code, right? Like
yeah,
they sure are cool. I mean, I have a mate. I think you have one too, the M8, right? And it's
yes.
crazy the power and sounds that come out of those things. But I, the same way, like if that guy gets hit by a bus,
I
right?
mean, let's be real. Tim has done such a good job on this machine that if Tim gets hit by a bus and this never gets another update,
It probably will last a very very long
yeah, and it all you
time.
have to do is unbolt it and throw another I don't know if it's Arduino or Pico or something like that.
Does
Forgotten
it
at this
actually
point.
pop into the board on there?
It might be soldered on, but even then, you could desolder it.
Hmm.
I believe it is in there though. Like I'll have to double check. Um,
I think it's a teensy.
Teensy, that's what it is. I still can't believe this is a Teensy, by the way, because like it's one thing to listen to albums on it, but like when you're actually using it, like it's ridiculous. It's
It's
responsive. It's
expressive. Yeah.
very good. Um, but it is specifically for people who like making music and spreadsheets. Uh, it is actually what I would not say is a performative machine. This is a machine that like if I had enough tracks on it, like this is what I would take to perform at like a blanket fort party or something where like I can hit go on something and then go party, like jump into the crowd and have fun, right?
Right.
Like you can
Yep.
do some filter sweeps or you can get a MIDI controller and play with that, but like still ultimately I'm playing some preset stuff, which is
Hmm.
fine. Which is what
I
I'm
feel
doing
like
there.
it's a sketch pad.
Yeah. Like this is going with me next week. There will be no what the heck next week. I've got a family member getting married, and I've got to do some speaking and stuff like that. So
You traveling for that?
not very far,
That's good.
just
Travel
just
sucks.
just down to the front range. But I mean, I still like with the wedding, you got to bring like a suit and stuff like that. So I'll bring an instrument, Zelda, and nothing else basically. Maybe a computer in case I need to order some shit or something last minute. Anyway, um,
Check that
back
email.
back to like, yeah, we got way into performance stuff this time, which is pretty fun. Um,
Well, you know me. I'm easy to bend.
just trying to think. Yeah,
I'll talk
what's
about
up? What's
anything.
up,
And
Markham
Super
Synth
Booth
Society? Yeah, Super Booth.
was just so crazy, right? Like I don't think we could actually talk about it all.
Like there's so many cool things that we still haven't talked about. Like this is not rocket science has a few things coming out, including
Oh my
next
goodness.
Tuesday, which is a sequel to Tuesday, which is it's a module I've ogled
That was
is the right
coveted for
word.
a long time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think it still is. It's still awesome. There's nothing quite like it. Um, and so that one has a large appeal to me as I consider maybe a travel case or something.
And he's got that delay. What was it, the Bop and
The Bop and
Steve?
Steve, yeah, that one is pretty rad too. Um, ALM's got some cool stuff. The TASM Zero and the Axon Two, like it's just ridiculous. All the cool things that have come out. The Buchla limited edition gold music easel because it's the 50th
Oh, there's the gold
anniversary.
one. I didn't see that limited edition one. But
Yeah,
what was I going to say? The Tip Top Buchla stuff.
I think it's the same one. I think that's just the name
No,
of
no, no,
it.
no. That's not the. So
Oh no, I'm
the
not talking
music
about the
easels.
Buchla one.
Yeah,
Or the
50th
sorry.
the 50th anniversary stuff comes from Buchla, the company,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And
yeah.
I was talking about the Tip Top. They announced
Uh
the 296 and the 207. I think it was
yeah,
mixer,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And yeah.
The
I'm still hooked on the
296 is
Spectrophone.
exciting.
Like I just have nothing but ideas for the Spectrophone, and I can't wait to see more demos as folks who are not like the usual reviewers
I've
get it.
seen somebody else opine that they hear an Odessa in it, and I have an Odessa, and so I want to make sure I play that thing out
Yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to get anything that's like a minor upgrade if I can avoid it. Like, yeah, like the reason I was looking so closely at the FACO MIDI thing too is specifically keeping in mind like well, can I fit the FX boy into my into my setup?
Ah,
And so you start looking at like what little things you can optimize, get that 2 HP back. Okay, you've done it twice. You now have 4 HP. Sweet. All right, like what's next? Like that kind of thing. Without sacrificing performability either. Like that's a module where you know what, I it could be probably even smaller. It has 16 outputs, and I'd be cool with that too. Like I don't need a button interface or a screen on it.
it's all about real estate, right? So, when I mentioned Vostok earlier, what always impresses me is just things that compress down. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work, like if the knobs are too small, but for something like a
Yeah,
MIDI interface, right?
yeah,
You don't want that thing eating. I mean, so I think back. Well, Yarns is like 12 HP,
yeah,
the original Yarns,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I think a Polyend is even bigger than that,
yeah.
right? So MIDI interfaces used to be huge.
Yes. Um, and I mean, a good example of things that get too small for me. Now that I've watched a documentary on it, I understand it. But the MS-22 filter, but now it's on my bench in the process of being cosmoified. So it's going from a 4
That's funny.
HP module to potentially a 20 centimeter wide module. We'll see.
Really, you're breaking it that far out.
Yeah.
Hmm. You and I are in the same boat or opinion of the MS-22.
It needs to be as big as it sounds. I don't know. Anyway,
I need
I
more space to work with it.
yeah. Um, like I just some of it is the adjoining modules need to have enough space to get to it nicely, which is a good point. But the problem with me was that the knobs are so close together that I can't do like a full filter sweep without like bumping into other knobs.
Yeah, no, that was exactly my problem too. Like just working with it generally, you're like, don't knob, knob.
Yeah. So the Spectrophon, talking about things that are spaced out, I think is actually pretty close to a perfectly designed module as far as the button spacing. The labels make a lot of sense to me. Um, where the sockets are, like fit make noises, or yeah, fit make noises scheme where the outputs tend to be um, sort of on this, like the inputs and outputs sort of like have their own things at the top and bottom, so you can sort of stack modules, stuff like that. It's just a really cool cool module that I'm looking forward to trying out at some
More
point.
videos is what I'm looking forward to with
Yeah,
that one.
yeah,
I want to
and
see some
yeah,
other people hammer on it.
and I heard some Toadstool Tech modules from Isaac are coming out, and I have some blanks on Modular Grid filling up spaces on my future updates as placeholders for those.
Nice.
Very looking forward to those. One is going to be pretty rowdy. Uh, can't wait. Might even replace my Rample. We'll see. Probably not, but we'll see. Um, right. I've got to go make some dinner now, though.
Dinner
So,
time?
yeah.
What's for
Um,
dinner?
I don't know yet. I think I'm going to chop a bunch of veggies up and put some spices in there. And I don't know.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. It was a pretty good chat today, both in the chat and in the stream chat.
In the
See, I need food.
podcast. Right.
The podcast. What the
The
heck is for
pod.
dinner? That's actually on my other channel. Is what the heck is for dinner, where you get to
Yeah.
watch me cook. Um, all right. Have
That's
a
the
good
heck.
night,
Yeah,
y'all.
exactly.
I'm not going to play us out because I really do have to go. Thank you.